So, welcome. This is Jody from the Women Travel Safe Facebook group. Women Travel Safe is a Facebook group focused on travel safety content for women. We are today interviewing a member of our group, and we thank you for taking time to share your story with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have asked members of the group to share their personal stories, and it is important to share these stories. No one is alone. Pickpockets, attacks, and theft can happen to anyone, especially when traveling in a foreign or unknown city. Our goal is to balance education and empowerment without instilling fear. So let us begin the interview. If you could tell us a little bit about the day, where you were, what country, what city, the location.
Sure. So this was in August in Paris. My friend and I were going on a European trip for the first time, and we were very excited to be there. And we'd planned out a special day to go to the Eiffel Tower and actually go up the tower and take in all the views. Would you like me to continue with how everything unfolded?
Yeah. So
Sure.
what happened from there? You got there to the Eiffel Tower and
Yeah, so we had been in France for a little in other cities prior to this, and interestingly, people we'd met along the way had warned us about the area of the Eiffel Tower being fairly almost I'd say dangerous for tourists in the sense that there are lots of schemes, and mainly we've been warned against stopping to buy little trinkets that people sell outside the Eiffel Tower. And
Mhm.
so, with this in mind, we planned. It was a daytime trip. We headed down around 12 noon, so midday, and so we were walking towards the Eiffel Tower. And as we were walking along the street, we noticed that there were groups of people watching street performances. And being from Canada, this is a pretty common thing in lots of different cities, and we were automatically interested to see what was happening. So we just simply, slowed down and walked by a few groups slowly and tried to peek through the crowds to see what was going on. And we actually paused at one just on the outside of the circle. And the next thing we knew, this huge group of men had shifted and they had encircled the two of us, my friend and I,
Oh,
and they formed a tight circle around us with no easy exit. They were almost shoulder to shoulder, and we didn't know what was going on. We were thinking, is this a fun thing? Is this a celebration? Are we in danger? We just had no idea. So the men started chanting and cheering, and one of them came into the middle of the group with us and told us that we were here to play this game, and it was exciting. And now you have to guess where the ball is. There were 3 different cups, and it was almost like a magic trick where you put a cup over a ball, mix the cups around, and then you have to guess where the ball is, which cup 1, 2, or 3. And I shook my head and I stood my ground for a while and just said, "No, I don't want to play. I want to go." And the man behind me in a very deep voice said, "Now you're going to play the game." And my friend as well. So we were refusing at first, and then they escalated and told us that not only did we have to play the game, that we would have to bet our own money on the ball and cup game. And then we started getting a weird feeling that something was really wrong and that we probably would have to actually take out wallets and start paying cash.
mhm.
So we looked at each other. They asked us how much money we had. We lied about it and just said we had much less, and took out. We each had these small little travel bags on the front of our chests, so we were safe with those. And we pulled out where each of us had money and took out some to hand to them. And we were also scared at the time because there were police in the area. It was a very, very busy, bustling area, but the police weren't really doing anything to help. There were lots of these groups happening that we saw, and B, we were worried that perhaps street side gambling was illegal, and then we were going to be caught or something would happen to us, almost framed.
Mhm. Mhm.
Anyhow, so we ended up handing over money. They did the game. They moved the ball around and they forced us to guess. So we didn't really have a choice because we were stuck in the circle of men. And
Okay.
so we pointed at a cup. One of us pointed, and of course it was wrong. They had obviously taken the ball out, and they said, "No, you're wrong. Now you owe us a few hundred." And it was just this crazy thing. And
Did
so
you feel
yeah,
like
and I
physically
just
trapped in the circle?
physically trapped. Yeah, there were men like shoulder to shoulder all around us, and then one woman. And the woman came over at this point she got into the middle of the circle and was like walking around us, and she was saying, "This is really fun. Come on, don't you want to have fun? You're here on vacation." And obviously telling us that they knew we were tourists.
Mhm. Mhm.
Anyhow, so it was really intimidating. We just looked at each other and didn't feel like we had an option. So we just took out all the money that we emptied our wallets out, all the money that we had with us. The
Oh my
men grabbed
goodness.
that. Pardon me?
Uh-huh. And that's about how much money do you think
Um,
they had gotten?
you know, I think if I were to say in Canadian, it wasn't an extreme amount of money. It was probably maybe 200 in Canadian that we had on us.
Okay,
But
okay.
still, it's just, we didn't know if that was going to be enough or if something was going to happen to us. It was a really, really scary event. We were totally shaken. So the
Did
men
you feel
finally,
like the only way to get out of it was to give the money to this group of pickpockets and
oh, yes.
scammers?
Yes, yes. One of the men behind me, this huge, huge man, I probably came up to under his armpit. He made it clear. He said, "You're paying money. You're not going to leave." And
Wow.
the irony,
Okay.
yeah, and the irony of this whole thing is that here we are surrounded. I didn't feel like anybody could see us in this huge group of men, and there's so much fun happening around us. So people were traveling and laughing and talking and carrying on, and here we are stuck, and we didn't even feel comfortable enough to like yell for help. We just didn't. We weren't thinking. We didn't know what was happening.
Hmm.
So,
So, do you think that they planned this? Do you think that you were targeted, you and your friend were targeted?
so it was absolutely planned because these circles that we saw, so when I'm saying circles, I mean groups of large
Hmm.
men. There
Okay.
were probably about 7 or 8 along the street, and we'd passed a few just, when we were first walked by, curiously looking between people to see what was happening. So it's definitely a scheme. It definitely happens, I'd say, frequently because the way that it ended was just such a clean ending. So
Hmm.
we finally emptied out our wallets. They asked us to open our bags, whatever else was inside there. They didn't take anything else. They just wanted money. And then they just scattered. It was incredible. Some people took off running. Other ones just blended right into the crowds, walked calmly alongside people, and we were just left the two of us alone, standing there completely shaken and just unsure of what even happened and unsure if we were still safe or if people were coming back or just what even to do, to be honest.
Wow. Did you approach the police at this time, or was it still just a crazy atmosphere going
um,
on? It.
we talked about it. Immediately I was quite mad about being, treated like this. It felt so violating. And
Mhm.
I was saying, I'm like, I'm gonna go do something about this. I'm gonna talk to the police. But then we talked about it and I was thinking, oh my God, I don't actually know if this is considered illegal roadside gambling. What if the cops think that we're trying to do something illegal in their country? What if there's a language barrier? And so we were actually too afraid to even approach the police, which I think
Okay.
was part of this whole plan. This is definitely something that happens there frequently. These
Yes,
people are
absolutely.
experts.
Yeah, these are experts. They know exactly how to do it physically, mentally, how to position you.
Hmm.
Um, I'm sorry this happened to you and your friend. What
Thanks.
would you do differently now?
Well, it's interesting. I'm quite an avid traveler and I've seen lots of different places. And so approaching, this trip, for example, I hadn't been to Paris specifically, but I thought that I was pretty safe and that I did employ different precautions that one should when they're traveling, when they're a female traveling alone or with one person.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
as of now, what I'd say is just advice for other people and for myself, just to avoid street side performances.
Okay.
It's probably not worth it. Maybe the attraction, the Eiffel Tower, is a little more important. Maybe we could just go directly there and
Hmm.
continue to, I don't know, keep on traveling. You can't let this totally stop what you love doing, right?
That's good. That's good to still have the spirit and not to let the scammers and the pickpockets get you down.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm happy to hear that you would still continue to travel. Thank you very much. If there's anything else you want to add, or shall I close the interview?
There is one more thing with this. So I actually, once my friend and I had spoken about, next steps, if we were going to talk to the police or what we were doing, I had figured, again, like I mentioned, I was quite upset about this. So I walked over as we were leaving the area. We just figured, let's go sit down at a cafe and just hang out and chill out and just try to relax. But
Yep.
along the way, I had stopped in front of a group, one of these, because these circles were still going on in various areas, and other people were probably trapped the way that we were.
Hmm.
And so I actually took a picture of one of them happening with the intention to do something with that photo to maybe go to the police or maybe show somebody or I don't know, just have some kind of proof of this happening.
Hmm.
And so that was a mistake because a man then so I took a photo, we continued walking like away to a cafe. And it turns out that we were actually being watched because
No.
this huge man came up behind us and he tapped my shoulder and in a really thick accent and deep voice said, "Delete the photo." And I was completely terrified. I had no idea what to do with this. So I actually turned around and I just pretended I didn't speak English and I didn't understand what he was saying. That was
Okay, good.
my best way out of it.
Yes.
And he started like actually yelling, "Delete the photo," and I just was acting like I didn't understand. I was looking around, and a random tourist walked by and said, "Hey, man, she doesn't understand English. Just leave it." And then
Mm-hmm.
my friend and I just were free to leave. And so that
Yep.
was just another little piece that I wanted to add on.
Wow. It
Yeah.
really shows that they are planned and strategic and
Yes.
calculating, and they
Yes.
have multiple members of their team watching the whole area, watching
Mhm.
when you leave, watching when you arrive. They systematically choose their targets. That's a really, really incredible story. Um, really incredible. I'm happy that you and your friend are safe and well now. You are
Thank you. Me
stunning
too.
and brave. Yeah, definitely. You're stunning and brave to share your story with the group now. Um, I cannot tell you how thankful I think many other women will be able to identify with your story. Other women will think about this when they're in that situation and maybe
Mhm.
have some lessons learned, maybe to try to avoid it. I think definitely hearing your story, this will help other women when they want to go and visit the Eiffel Tower. I think definitely they will avoid these kinds of scam areas if they can. But it's really remarkable that you're still positive and able to share the story with us.
Thank
So
you for taking the time to hear it, and I hope it does help in some way. Even with others, just being aware that you could be watched, so just be on high alert in different touristy public areas.
always vigilant. Thank you very much. Take care and travel safe.
Thank you.